Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for watching another video. Tonight we're going to be having a look at the differences between red dots and holographic sights. Let's begin with the red dots. Now, all of these have LEDs and they basically work the same, even though they look a little bit different. Very simple and inexpensive devices to produce. Now, as a result, you're going to have a massive price range to choose from. When you go on Amazon, you got budget brands like UTG, Firefield, and Fiachi. Your mid to high brands would be Vortex, Holosun, and Primary Arms. And at the top tier, you would have Aimpoint and Trijicon. And because of the simplicity of the technology, you have many different form factors to choose from. Like this one is a micro red dot that you put on the pistol. It's an open emitter. This one's meant to look like a holographic sight, but it's not. The emitter's underneath this hood here. And you have your closed ones like this. So you have many different form factors to choose from. Now, holographic sights, on the other hand, for companies producing them like EOTech and new to the game, Neo Optics, the technology is a lot more complicated. The machining that's being used is a lot more expensive. The material's more expensive. And as a result, your entry-level price will be somewhere around $450 all the way up to a few $1,000s, depending on the company and the model. Time to talk about these guys right here and battery life. Now, on the red dot, again, LED emitters have very little draw. They use very little power, and it's very common to get 10, 20, 30, 40, even 50,000 hours of battery life off of a really tiny CR2032 battery like this. So a lot of times those dots will just stay on. So if you need it for home defense, self-defense, EDC purposes, it'll always be ready. And if you consider a lot of the red dots now have a shake-awake feature, it extends the battery of this life by a lot. Holographic sights normally use a battery like this, CR123A, and they range in usage between, I'd say, 600 and maybe 1200 hours of total usage. Just depends if it goes into shut-off mode or not, but for sure, the battery life edge goes to red dots by far. Another thing to consider is with red dots, you have many different mounting options. Here's just a few, right? You have different size risers. You can even get a 45-degree mount like this to mount this sideways on your rifle in case you have a primary scope and you want to tilt it to the side and use this. Even on the bottom of this guy, there's a rail adapter here, or you can use it on different firearms with different adapters. So you get a lot of more flexibility when you go with the red dot with different mounting options. And of course, you have to consider the size and the weight difference between these two when you put it on your firearm. How much weight are you going to be adding, and how much rail space are you going to be taking up? I'm going to turn these sideways so you can see it. Look at that. There's a massive difference in weight and in size here. We'll put these on a scale in just a little bit, but look at the size difference here. Now, the exception is the Neo Optics HH1. It falls right in between here. So it's just about the same size as this red dot and is a lot lighter than the EOTech 512. Let's get these on a scale. All right, let's get the red dot on the scale with the riser coming in at just about 5 ounces. And then let's get the EOTech in with its AA batteries, about 11.5 ounces. And the HH1 from Neo Optics, pleasantly right in between in size and weight. Now, after all of that, you guys might be thinking, whoa, maybe he prefers red dots over holographic sights. And that might be true for pistols, maybe backup sights, but for rifles, I definitely would prefer a holographic sight. Main reason being is the way my brain thinks, I just need something more than a 2 MOA or a 3 MOA dot to get me on target. And it just feels claustrophobic looking through this tube. Sometimes I'm just hunting around versus this nice rectangular large objective lens of the holographic sight. I tend to just look for it, get it in the box, and once it hits that circle dot reticle, I can get on target so much quicker. So I prefer the circle dot reticle versus just the dot. Another thing to consider too after using the Neo Optics HH1 is the thinness of the bevel around the lens. Like when you're looking through here, it's all lens compared to the thickness of the EOTech 512. So that's something to consider as well. Now, the dot in the middle of the circle dot is 1 MOA. The smallest MOA you're going to get with the red dot is 2 MOA. And some people can see the difference there, but that's not the main reason I'm bringing that up. If you want to use a magnifier with either of these, the 1 dot MOA is going to stay at 1 dot MOA. If you put a magnifier on a 2 MOA or 3 MOA, it's going to balloon up a little bit. So depending on your eyesight and what you want to do, the holographic sight might be better because that 1 dot MOA will stay that size. Another really important feature I learned about holographic sights is that they are always on target. The parallax is almost zero. So it doesn't matter where you lean it. If that one MOA dot is on target, it is always there no matter what. Now with the red dot, a little bit different. I remember sometimes really trying to lean into it and sometimes I lose the dot. So if you're looking for something that is always going to keep you on target no matter what angle you're shooting at, it's going to be the holographic sight. Also consider if you want to use night vision goggles, you probably want to do it with a holographic sight. Now I know they do have red dots that have NVG mode, but those get crazy expensive and the goggles are already expensive. So to keep the cost down, you probably want to use a holographic sight if you want to use NVGs. So the last thing I want to bring up is durability between the two. Now, I'm going to take a step back because I think most people, when they think red dot, they're like, oh, one of these guys, right? Open emitter, the lens pops out, it's useless, you can't glue it back in. If you damage the emitter, pretty much done. And you're right, but I'm not talking about these guys. I'm talking about top tier brands like EOTech and Vortex and Neo Optics versus Aimpoint and Trijicon. When you get up to that level, the durability is basically going to be the same, right? You're going to have really high quality materials like 6061 aluminum, 7075 waterproofing. You're going to have nitrogen purge chambers, and the testing that they're going to do for shock absorption is going to be incredible. So the durability is going to be there. However, what we're talking about is if your scope takes damage. Let's pretend this is an Aimpoint or a Trijicon. If you happen to damage this lens in some freak accident or whatever, this scope is still basically useless. You might be able to see the emitter kind of floating around in there, but your zero is pretty much going to be gone. So once you crack either of these lenses, it's a done deal. Now, if you happen to break this lens that's facing you, not so much of a big deal because the holograph is projecting on the lens on this side. So you're still going to be able to use this if you break this lens. Now, if you break that lens, it's game over, but you get a little bit more durability out of a holographic sight. Well, alright guys, those are just some quick differences between red dots and holographic sights. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it helps you make a better buying decision if you're out there trying to decide which one of these to get. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.